What the writers are allegedly doing with this Cassius Phazon storyline is downright criminal. If you thought the blood spilled at Windermere was the definitive end of the line, you are entirely mistaken. There is a massive, shadowy cover-up happening right in front of our eyes, and the WSB is pulling every single string. Z is not the savior he pretends to be. He is the puppet master of a grand, terrifying illusion. The supposed demise we just witnessed? It might just be the most elaborate magic trick Port Charles has ever seen. We are talking about a monumental deception that will tear apart everything we thought we knew about the aftermath of Roscullum's reign of terror. I absolutely refuse to believe that Cassius Phazon simply perished from a fatal gunshot wound after that explosive, chaotic confrontation on Spoon Island. If you ask me, Z is the one who actively orchestrated this entire narrative of death. Think about it, ladies. The head of the WSB doesn't just let a highly trained asset or a massive liability bleed out on the floor if they can still be useful to the agency. I strongly suspect that announcing Cassius as a casualty was not the tragic truth, but a meticulously calculated hidden agenda. After Cassius took that bullet, instead of leaving him to the Grim Reaper, Z likely had his elite clandestine medical team secretly extract the heavily wounded twin and transport him to an undisclosed, highly secure black site facility for intensive, life-saving treatment. Why would Z go to such extreme lengths to fake a death? The answer is as old as the soap opera genre itself: absolute erasure. By declaring Cassius officially deceased, Z effectively wipes the slate completely clean. The entire world, including the Port Charles Police Department, Dante Falconeri, and the WSB itself, believes the dangerous threat is permanently neutralized. This manipulative scheme allows Z to bury every single trace of the fake Nathan West identity that Cassius utilized to infiltrate the town and deceive everyone, including Lulu Spencer and Nina Reeves. If the world thinks Cassius is rotting 6 feet under, nobody is going to waste their precious time or resources investigating his true identity, his past crimes, or his intricate connections to Jen Sidwell and Ross Cullum. It is the perfect escape hatch, built entirely on a foundation of absolute deceit. But this is exactly where the domino effect truly begins to topple, and the collateral damage inflicted on our favorite characters is going to be catastrophic. To make this grand illusion flawless, Z needed a credible witness, someone whose raw, unfiltered grief would sell the lie to the rest of the skeptical world. Enter Josslyn Jax. The poor girl has already been through absolute hell and back during her captivity at Windermere, and now Z is using her as the ultimate pawn in his twisted, psychological game. I theorize that Z looked Josslyn straight in the eye and delivered the devastating news that Cassius did not survive his injuries. He didn't just tell her, he made her the primary bearer of the tragic news, exploiting her trauma to cement his fabricated reality into the history books. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated cruelty of this unholy alliance of lies. Z supposedly tasks a heavily traumatized Josslyn with the horrific duty of bringing Cassius's memorial photograph to Liesel Obrecht. Can you picture that heart-wrenching scene playing out on our screens? Josslyn, trembling and barely able to stand, handing a framed picture of a supposedly dead son to a mother who has already lost so much in her tragic life. Liesel's agonizing screams of heartbreak would echo through the cold halls of the PCPD, and Josslyn's genuine tears would be the undeniable, physical proof that Cassius is gone forever. It is a brilliant, albeit deeply sociopathic, strategy. No one would ever dare to question the tears of a grieving mother and a shattered young woman. Z is using their genuine agony as the ultimate, impenetrable shield for his clandestine operation. For Josslyn, this profound shock could be the devastating catalyst for a complete psychological collapse. We all know she is a fiercely strong young woman, raised by Carly Spencer to be a fighter. But every human being has a breaking point. She desperately does not want to believe that the man who fought alongside her, the man who clashed with her but ultimately shared the terrifying trenches of captivity, is truly gone. Yet, with Z presenting fabricated medical records, a fake coroner's report, and the sheer, intimidating weight of the WSB's authority, she has absolutely no choice but to accept the grim reality she is being fed. Her vibrant spirit is crushed, and her usually sharp, investigative instincts are drowned in a deep ocean of manufactured grief and survivor's guilt. But Z is a master tactician, and he is far too smart to leave anything to chance. He knows perfectly well that Josslyn is Carly's daughter, and Carly's daughters do not stay down in the dirt forever. Eventually, once the initial shock wears off, Josslyn might start asking dangerous questions. She might notice a tiny discrepancy in the timeline, a flaw in the WSB's official incident report, or a missing detail from the night of the shooting. To prevent this inevitable curiosity, Z initiates the next, most insidious phase of his manipulative scheme. He introduces a brand new player to the board, Vaughn. On the surface, Vaughn appears to be a compassionate, understanding, and gentle figure, someone strategically placed in Josslyn's orbit to offer a warm shoulder to cry on during her darkest, most vulnerable hour. He is a handsome, empathetic stranger who just happens to know exactly what to say to soothe her shattered nerves. Do not be fooled for a single second by this charming newcomer, ladies. Vaughn is not a knight in shining armor sent by fate. He is a warden disguised as a savior. If my theory holds true, Vaughn is operating under strict, covert orders directly from Z himself. His secret mission is to ensure that Josslyn remains absolutely, unequivocally convinced of Cassius's death. Every single time she expresses a sliver of doubt, every time she stares off into space and wonders if there is more to the story of that bloody night at Windermere, Vaughn will be right there to gently, yet firmly, redirect her thoughts. He will reinforce the tragic narrative, overly validate her grief, and subtly gaslight her into abandoning any lingering suspicions she might have about the WSB's official story. This creates a deeply toxic dynamic, a vicious cycle of emotional manipulation that will trap Josslyn in a web of lies. Vaughn will constantly reinforce the deception, ensuring that Josslyn's attention is strictly focused on moving forward, on healing her wounds, and on building her future, rather than looking back at the dark, unresolved mysteries of Spoon Island. He will intentionally become her primary emotional anchor, making her entirely dependent on him for mental stability and comfort. And the more she trusts him, the deeper she falls into Z's carefully constructed psychological trap. It is a masterful, sickening display of control. Z isn't just hiding Cassius from the authorities. He is actively rewriting the psychological reality of everyone who might have the power to expose his monumental secret. Let us take a solemn moment to consider the broader, devastating implications for the Legacy family involved in this tragic farce. Liesl Obrecht and Britt Westbourne are currently drowning in a suffocating ocean of despair. We already know Britt is throwing violent, inconsolable fits in her PCPD jail cell, her heart completely shattered by the sudden loss of her brother. Liesl is mourning the son she barely had the chance to understand or love properly. They are enduring a profound, agonizing mourning period for a man who is likely hooked up to state-of-the-art medical equipment in a luxurious, heavily guarded WSB safe house. The emotional devastation inflicted upon this family is immeasurable, cruel, and entirely unnecessary. It is all based on a monumental lie orchestrated by a powerful man who views these grieving women as nothing more than collateral damage on his global chessboard. Meanwhile, what exactly is happening to Cassius himself in the shadows? I envision him lying in a sterile, hidden room, slowly regaining his physical strength as the WSB doctors work around the clock. Does he know the full extent of Z's massive deception? Is he a willing participant in this fake death, choosing to abandon his family to save his own skin, or is he effectively a prisoner of the WSB, trapped in a gilded cage until Z decides he is useful for a new mission? Cassius might be entirely cut off from the outside world, completely unaware that his mother and sister are weeping over his empty grave, unaware that Nina Reeves is heartbroken, and unaware that Josslyn is being manipulated by a WSB operative named Vaughn. He is a ghost, a phantom, waiting in the wings, completely at the mercy of Z's grand, overarching design. But as we all know from decades of watching this show, in the dramatic, unpredictable world of soap operas, secrets of this magnitude never stay buried forever. The dominoes are carefully set, but they are teetering dangerously on the edge of the table. What happens when Vaughn inevitably makes a mistake? What happens if he develops genuine, unscripted feelings for Josslyn and his guilty conscience begins to bleed through his cold, operative exterior? Or what if Carly Spencer, with her relentless bulldog intuition, senses that this perfect new man in her daughter's life is hiding something sinister? Carly already despises Z with a burning passion. If she catches even a faint whiff of this unholy alliance between Z and Vaughn, she will tear the WSB apart brick by brick, burn their offices to the ground, and move heaven and earth to uncover the absolute truth. And then, of course, there is the ultimate explosive wild card, Cassius himself. When he finally heals, when the surgical scars fade and his formidable strength returns, he will not stay hidden in the shadows forever. He is a man of action, a man bold enough to impersonate a beloved police detective for months right under the noses of the PCPD and his own twin's wife. When Cassius inevitably breaks out of Z's hidden facility and returns to Port Charles, perhaps armed with a new identity or an entirely new face, The explosion of drama will be absolutely biblical. The sheer betrayal Josslyn will feel when she realizes her grief was manufactured by the very agency she trusted. The ungodly fury Liesel will unleash upon the WSB, and the sheer chaos of Cassius reclaiming his stolen life will shake the very foundations of the town. We are currently witnessing the eerie, quiet calm before a devastating, town-altering storm. Z arrogantly believes he has tied up all the loose ends, burying the dangerous truth alongside an empty, symbolic casket. But he has severely underestimated the resilience, the anger, and the love of the people he is so casually manipulating. The dead do not always stay dead in Port Charles, and the truth has a funny, relentless way of clawing its way out of the darkest, deepest graves. If Cassius is truly alive, waiting in the shadows, as a pawn in Z's master game, who will be the first to uncover the horrifying reality? And will Josslyn ever be able to forgive the people who turned her trauma into a weapon?